Welcome. So on April 5th, 2005, I experienced ultimately a life-changing injury on the lacrosse field at The Ohio State University. For those of you Buckeyes, yes, The Ohio State University. An injury that ultimately should have left me paralyzed from the neck down. I had broken my neck going for a typical ground ball, something I had done thousands of times in practice. Unfortunately, as I lay there on the field, I knew things were very different. I was completely numb. My teammates would describe it as a deer that had been hit by a car. The sounds that I was making, the convulsions, to me it was very different. To me, that entire scenario was almost blank. I could feel nothing, I could hear nothing, and I could see nothing. Again, I knew things were going to be very different. But that was further emphasized a few months later on campus, when an elderly woman came up to me out of nowhere. She grabbed my hands, asked if she could pray for me, and then uttered the following words that have stuck with me ever since. God wanted me to tell you that the only reason you're still walking is that He has a lot left for you to do. I didn't know what that meant. I knew I had some praying to do. But from that moment forward, I used that as strength to move forward into the next phase of my life that I can only describe as healthcare hell. I graduated and went into the healthcare field. And I've been in healthcare for the last 20 years. And the thing that I can tell you is if you look at that image on the right side, that's the U.S. healthcare system. A system where those that know someone or know how to navigate it or have great insurance get the care they need, they get on that fast track. And then there's the about 90 to 95% of us that get stuck in the maze. That was me. Unfortunately, our healthcare system is also one that is geared to two main focuses: patient satisfaction and patient outcomes. That completely leaves the issue at hand, the injury, last. It's what can we do? How can we fix it? Let's not talk to the patient. They don't know. That needs to change. Organized medicine, because of those two features, is focused on treating the symptoms and not the patient. They're focused on dealing with, in my case, the pain, not the underlying condition, the breakage, or the continued problem of spine slipping that took place. From 2005 until 2022, I had 8 surgeries. Many of them like simple Band-Aids. Not very effective, some causing more pain than necessary. In fact, I had $5 million worth of completely unnecessary surgery. All in all, from 2005 to today, about $20 to $25 million in healthcare spending, just to be standing here in front of you. But that wasn't the problem. The problem were the physicians who always felt that they knew better and they could fix it. My very first cocktail, to give you an idea, included testosterone, anabolic steroids, an estrogen blocker, and to top it all off, Oxycontin. 18 years of heavy opiate dependence because that was the treatment algorithm. That can't be the way that we do pain. I don't know about you, but that does not look like a neck, correct? I had 4 elbow surgeries. Overzealous hand surgeons who felt that the numbness and tingling in my hands could be fixed by transfixing the ulnar nerve. Never once thinking, where does that nerve come from? Maybe we should check his spine. But through all of this, a light began to shine, a patient advocate. So what's a patient advocate? Well, advocates come in many forms, functions, fashions. You have independent patient advocates, individuals like myself, who are there to walk alongside a patient and their caregivers and their care team to ensure that they get the care that they need. You have disease state groups, of which there are over 20,000 in the United States, geared and devoted directly to a specific disease state to walk with those patients. And then believe it or not, even in pharma and biotech, I know, the evil companies that we think that they are, will spend anywhere from $25 to $50 million on an annual basis to help reach the patients that don't know that help exists. So where do you find them? How do you get the help that you need? As I said, they come in many different forms, functions, fashions. The independent patient advocates are certified by the Patient Advocacy Certification Board. So these folks have been through an exam. They've been taught how to navigate health systems, how to navigate insurance companies, how to fight the fights. And sometimes they'll fall into groupings known as coalitions, where you have greater national advocates or the coalition of healthcare advocacy organizations. Those are places that you can find independent advocates in your community for yourselves. You have disease state groups, as I referenced, two noted here, the Diabetes Patient Advocacy Coalition and NORD, the National Organization for Rare Disease. Those are organizations, again, geared towards that specific disease state, there to walk alongside the patient. And because healthcare is so cheap, we even have organizations like PAN and PATH that are strictly devoted to ensuring that you have the funds that you need to fight the healthcare fight that you're in. In my world, my advocate had a hero that didn't look like your normal hero for someone who had broken their spine. Dr. Ali Sharif is a chiropractor. Usually when you break your neck, that's probably the last person you want to see, right? But Dr. Sharif, being a patient advocate first, took the time to slow down, to understand what was I sensing, what was I feeling, where did I want to go, what had I been through? What was that creaking in my neck, that creaking noise in my neck that my spouse had heard? My friends also heard it, but I thought it was normal. I can't exactly tell you the words that came out of his mouth when he heard it, but he knew it wasn't normal. And because of Dr. Sharif, I was able to move forward and get the help that I needed. Again, someone who's been in healthcare for 20 years, I know how to fight these fights, but I was still blinded. I still needed help. And thanks to Dr. Sharif, on May 15th, 2023, I was given a second lease on life. I was given a second opportunity to be the husband I wanted to be the father that I wanted to be. You see, opiates completely change you to your core. They make you a very angry and depressed individual. I had been burning bridges with my family for years. This was a chance to reset. But you see, 6 months prior to surgery, my surgeon told me, before you can do surgery, you need to get off of those opiates. Didn't tell me how, just told me it had to happen, and he wouldn't schedule surgery unless it was done. Thanks to Dr. Sharif, he helped guide me through that process. I was able to recognize that the opiates for me, though I had seen them as second nature and what I needed to get through my day, were just a crutch. And more importantly, I was able to do the work on the relationships in my life that needed it. To date, as I referenced, nearly $20 to $25 million in spending on healthcare. On average in the United States, we spend about $15,000 per patient per year. So all of you young people, thank you. You took some of my spending. But if we're going to move forward in the right direction, we always have to think back on how do we help the patients who need it first. Not how do we focus on the docs, not how do we focus on the hospitals, but how do we get to the patients? And we can do that through patient advocates. I recognized through this journey of self-identification and recognizing if I was able to get through a 13-hour surgery, if I was to survive it, they were going to break my neck in 3 spots. In fact, on the x-ray on the left-hand side, you can see a screw that they couldn't get out, that they had to cut through. That journey of self-discovery before surgery allowed me to understand, what did I want life to look like? What impact did I want to have? How was I going to impact the patient community that I was a part of and not let this happen to others? And I recognized that I was going to have to go all in on myself. I was going to have to start a small business and focus on ensuring that pharma and biotech companies who claim to want to serve the patient community, do so. Come alongside of them and ensure that those dollars are spent in the right way, and that money is utilized to ensure that any patient that needs the help that they have finally recognized is available can get access to it. I now know what that old lady meant all those years ago. If this is all that I'm meant to do, is to share with you the impact of patient advocacy, then so be it. But I still think there's a lot more left. So my advice to you, if you or any of your loved ones find themselves in a life-changing healthcare situation, you don't have to go it alone. There's always a patient advocate. For me, as I said, with Dr. Sharif, I was able to get the surgery I needed. I can't look down, I'll tell you that. My cervical spine is fully fused. But imagine, if I had an advocate all the way back in 2005, maybe today, just maybe, I'd be able to see my toes. Thank you.